Perfect. All right. Good evening, everybody. We get organized here. Hang on, again, I'm just gonna wait for the TV to start recording. Exactly. There we go. There we go. All right. Okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is John Lahr. I am the chair of the Millis Finance Committee. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, April 16th, 2025, 7 p.m. Actually, I apologize. It's about 7:03 right now. I want to make sure we had all members here. So it's a great segue to go into, why don't we start off to my left, and if everyone could just introduce themselves, that'd be fantastic.
Jody Garzon, Sarah is, Joyce Moriarty,
Mike Crone.
Kathy McInnes.
John Zarowski.
Thank you, everybody. We have a full crew here tonight. It's been a combination of hybrid of Zoom and in person over the last few months, so it's nice to see everybody here.
Short cuts, 19 items, voice.
Stand by. Vice Chair is playing with the
I was
remote.
trying to get the sound to go down a little bit, but
Who's
the little
guy
in the
suit?
I don't know. It must be a chat bot sometime. Sorry, everybody. We're just fascinated with the technology here. I'd like to remind everyone that there's multiple ways to access the Finance Committee meeting material, as well as watching it. You can watch it on your local access channels at home, Comcast Channel 6, Verizon Channel 38. You can also access millismedia.org. Also, you can go to YouTube where it's live streaming. And just like select board and other committees, you can show up live and attend here. All the material that we have right now is also located on the Millis website under the Finance Committee webpage. So you can find all that material there. Final reminder, I know we're sharing mics tonight, and any guests that come up to the microphones, please be 4 inches from the microphone so that we can properly record your voice for all the media outlets that we have. So before we jump into it, it's been an exciting day. I was telling these folks earlier that there was a worldwide Zoom outage today. Puerto Rico's without power, and the market's down about 4%. So with that said,
Fun times.
why don't we move into the agenda tonight? And it's only Wednesday. So we have a special guest here, Nicole Riley from the Planning Board, and she's going to talk about some of the articles tonight. You can either sit or stand.
Good evening, Nicole Riley, 258 Village Street, Millis Planning Board. Mr. Chair, which article would you like to address first?
How about Article 16?
I don't
The
know.
Special Flood Hazard District in zoning
Okay.
map.
So, in the simplest terms, the purpose of this bylaw is to this amendment is to enhance the town's resilience against flood hazards. In 2023, FEMA revised their flood insurance rate maps and the National Flood Insurance Program. As a result of these revisions, all communities across the country that participate in the National Flood Insurance Program are required to incorporate the flood insurance rate map, these new revised rate maps, into their zoning map, and to revise their bylaws so that they comply with the new regulations. In an effort to assist the communities within Massachusetts to comply with these new FEMA regulations, the Massachusetts Flood Hazard Management Program has created a bylaw, a model bylaw, excuse me. Sorry, there's so many of these acronyms that I just. So for the past year, the town of Millis has been working with 2 consultants, one, the MAPC, and that has been to take the model bylaw that the state has and to incorporate that into our current bylaw so that it fits with our needs, but to ensure that we have all the necessary and proper language to comply with the National Flood Insurance Program. The town has also been working with its engineering consultant, GCG Associates, to update our map and make sure that our map complies with the new flood insurance rate map. this is very important. As all of you know, a lot of Millis is wet. And there are people in town that have to have flood insurance. And if we don't comply with these new regulations, they will be unable to obtain flood insurance. So the proposed amendments within here include, among other things, changes in the delineation of our flood zones, revised construction standards for both new building and substantial improvements, and updated criteria for the management of floodplain development. So that is the new special flood zone hazard district bylaw in a nutshell. Anybody have any questions? And I will tell you right now that, as far as the determination of where the floodplains are, why they've changed, that is well above my pay grade. And I would, with possibly the exception of Jim McKay, who was on the planning board, and our DPW director, it's above the pay grade of the rest of us. On the
Gotcha.
planning board. So these are the consultants, the experts from MAPC and from the state have worked together with us to say, this is what you need to comply with the federal regulations.
Jody is responsible for this article. I believe you have a question.
I do. So, once we pass this as a town, is there a review process that the state or federal government does, or, is it just automatically?
Every bylaw change that we have has to go to the Attorney General for approval. I do not believe that there is any additional review with the federal government.
Okay.
Not that it was presented to the planning board as such.
Okay. So basically, we're trusting that the Attorney General will approve something that meets those federal insurance standards?
Yes.
Okay,
If it doesn't, if there is language in the AG's office, they will tell us why they're not accepting it. I don't know the statistics, but in my 15 years, I think Kathy was on the board for 20. I'm not aware of the Attorney General turning us down for anything. So I think it would be highly, especially since our consultants have been working with the state model. So we haven't created any real new language. The state created this model bylaw to assist communities because the vast majority of the communities are not gonna have the resources either to go out and hire the expertise or in-house to sift through all of this.
sure. I mean, the language is very detailed, specific, and involved.
Yes.
It's-
Go ahead, Pete.
Ms. Riley, was there anything, say, controversial, noteworthy, or anything that the board members deliberated over that would be of
No,
interest to us before we vote?
no. Jody, if you want this. I can give you that for your. Thank you. That is, I pulled that together actually specifically to provide to you, and that was taken from what town council had provided us for preparing and, from the bylaws.
That's great. She can use that
Thank
for
you so much.
dialogue. That's great.
Any other discussion around the flood zoning here? No, why don't we go over to Article 17, which is the accessory dwelling units.
The state of Massachusetts has established a new requirement, zoning requirement for accessory dwelling units that all communities must allow an accessory dwelling unit by right within residential districts. What that consists of is that any homeowner can, providing that their property accommodates it, can build an accessory dwelling unit. Millis had it has until we pass this. Currently we have an accessory family unit bylaw. That really was designed as what we would commonly refer to as an in-law apartment. It was for a unit that was in your home. It, it didn't necessarily have to have a kitchen. It was more like a small bedroom, but it's kind of a separate living area, but not a full living area. Our bylaws required that the only people that could use an accessory family unit have to be related to the property owner by blood or by marriage. So again, meaning really, if you have a young child that had, you know, a 22-year-old has got their own apartment or in-laws, you can only obtain it by special permit, and that has to be reviewed by the town and by the building department every 5 years. That in effect violates this new accessory dwelling unit bylaw that the state has come out with. So when we say that an ADU is allowed by right, it doesn't mean it's an automatic. It means that the town cannot require a special permit to require an applicant to go through the special permit process. They will still have to ensure that their property has either sewer capacity if they're hooked up to sewer, or septic capacity. If you have a 4-bedroom house and you have a 4-bedroom septic system, you're not gonna, you'd either have to bring your septic system up to code, either adding a 5 or 6-bedroom system, to be able to do that. If you have sewer, you're going to have the separate hook to tap onto the town sewer. You're gonna have to make sure that there's a sewer line that you can tap onto. There are specific requirements from under the state's regulations. The unit cannot be more than 900, either 50% of the principal dwelling or 900 square feet, whichever is less. So in effect, you're not going to be building a second home, a full-size residence on your property. You have to meet the setbacks of the property, whatever zone they're in. And it does allow for the town to have a site plan review. So, as I said, instead of having to go through a special permit, which is very expensive, you have to provide written notification to abutters. The site plan simply really lets you do a drawing, not a full engineering drafts. So that the planning board can determine that there's a minimization, of vegetation, soil removal, there's not a lot of grade changes. That if you're, excuse me, let me take a step back. The ADU can be within the home, it can be built attached to the home, or it can be a separate unit. It has to meet architecturally with the property itself. So if you have a nice cape, you're not building a modern contemporary modular home. So we do have that ability to look it over and make sure that it's going to fit in with the neighborhoods. The bylaw requires at least 1 parking space. We have chosen to ensure that that parking space is not tandem, meaning front to back. Because if I'm building an ADU so that my mom can live there, it's not gonna matter to me. If I block my mother in, she's gonna yell at me and go move your car. The difference with the ADU is that now you can rent it out. So if I have a tenant, we don't want to create an issue where we've gone to work, I've left the car there, my tenant now can't get out, and the town is getting dragged into this. So we're requiring that if it's within a shared parking area, then there has to be a side-by-side space, so that it just doesn't, the town doesn't have a headache from this. There were a couple other things that we did provide. We've addressed in this bylaw. The ADUs are only required by state law to be in residential neighborhoods. And that is by right. We are allowing ADUs to be permitted in other districts, meaning commercial or industrial districts, by special permit. The reason for that is that we do have some pre-existing non-conforming residences in residential and commercial area, in commercial and industrial areas. They were conforming when those houses were built. Zoning has changed. The fact that the zone has changed over the years is not the fault of the property owner. So while we're requiring a special permit because, especially if, you know, a house is stacked between 2 businesses, we want to make sure that this is, that we're not going to be conflicting upon the businesses that are abutting. But we're not saying, nope, you're in a commercial zone, too bad, you don't get access to this. We are also, the state requires us to allow one ADU by right. We are providing for the opportunity to have a second one, again, by special permit. In the event, this is specifically designed for, if you have one of those in-law apartments, especially something that doesn't have kitchen, and you want to have this ADU, we don't want someone that had the old design that's not appropriate for independent living to be excluded. But again, that second use would be by special permit. So that's a lot of gobbledygook for what's basically the state says, we can't deny this. We have to allow people to residents, anybody in a residential neighborhood to do this by right. So this is really just putting some rules in place so that we have some sort of control.
Thank you, Jeff. Do you have a question, Jim?
I do have a question, but
Yeah.
Kathy asked if she could go
Do you
first.
have questions? Mike, do you have anything?
No.
I just have a few quick questions. Is it fair for the people that have an existing family unit to now have to go through the special permit process for one? If that family unit does have a stove and a kitchen, which is allowed?
If they have one currently in place, that would be considered their one. So we are allowing them to obtain a second one, but that has to be through special permit. The
So it
state,
would not be considered grandfathered?
It is.
it's grandfather, but you can't then build a second one. If you have one in
Okay.
on your property, you don't have to do anything, it's
Right.
there.
All right,
It's only if you now wanted, if that was within your home, say the basement.
yes.
And now you wanted a freestanding unit in your yard, like, you know, everybody else wants to build. It's just, it is a great opportunity, but if you have one in your basement, we're not prohibiting it, we're giving you, which the state says we only have to allow you one.
Right, I
So
get it.
we're granting that opportunity for you to come.
So also, Mr. Chair, I'm wondering if there's a special permit to have two separate on a property. What type of setbacks would the second unit have to receive? The same ones? What's the setback next to each other?
Whatever the setbacks in that zone are gonna be. So if you've got side-by-side setbacks of 40 feet, and you've got one freestanding and you've got you've got an acre of land to the side and you can put a second one, it's still gonna have to meet each unit is going to have to independently meet the setbacks of that zone.
So conceivably, Mr. Chair and Nicole, the two units could be 5 feet apart? Or would they have to be a sideline apart from each other?
They'd have to be a sideline apart from each other.
All right.
Jen?
Yeah, I have some questions about 2A3, the barring the ADU use as a short-term rental. I understand that's not required by the state and that is an optional by the town. Can you explain the reasoning behind that? By that add-on?
I'll have to find out from town council, because we were told that this was.
Yeah.
The ADUs cannot be used as short-term rentals, meaning it can't be used as basically.
And my understanding is that's an optional, like a town does not have to put that in. I could be wrong, but.
I've seen the statute, that's the
If that's,
statute.
all right,
That's the
all right.
statute.
If it is, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm inclined to. vote
I
no.
I will defer to town council. My understanding, both from what town council provided to us, and because we actually had discussed the 31-day period, because there was a question on the planning board, by a planning board member saying, if it's not more than 31 days, does that mean then you could rent it some months and not another? But the state of Massachusetts defines a short-term rental as 30 days or less.
Oh, no, I understand. I do short-term
But-
rentals. So I'm saying like, this is in your house. This seems draconian. I mean, you have grandma died, right? I mean, I have house people for 2 weeks who were just undergoing construction or their septic broke or whatever. It just seems like,
Well, you're not renting to them.
wouldn't you be renting?
If you have a friend that is
and they paid you, you're not renting to them.
I,
That's-
this is, I guess if you want to offer someone something, to come into your home,
I mean, if
that's,
it's the state mandate, I'm not gonna argue.
My
My understanding was
understanding-
this was not.
I will defer this to
required.
town
Okay,
council.
That's great,
I
yeah.
can
I made
have,
a note.
Okay, great, perfect.
my understanding from town council was that this was mandatory. So, but I won't argue it.
No, I get, yeah, it's not your job, yeah. I had a different understanding of it, so took issue with it, and so why are we adding it? We don't have a short-term problem in Millis like we would in the Cape or in New York City, for example.
Well, I would, I mean, I could only answer that to my personal opinion, so that's not what the board is looking for.
Okay,
So I'll
no, thank
defer
you.
that.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
would variances be allowed if if they cannot meet the setback requirements?
As with any applicant, they can seek a variance. And as you well know, Kathy, it would depend upon the circumstances.
I didn't know if there was
Whether the
something in the
variance
statute that, all of a sudden you don't meet the sideline, but you can request a variance for 5 feet from the sideline instead of the required 20 feet. So, and a variance would allow that, so,
I'm
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not aware that there's anything in the state statute that allows for that. Any applicant can request a variance on setbacks.
Right.
And the variance is going to be either granted or denied based upon those specific circumstances.
Go ahead, Sarah.
For the ADUs that are going to be, special permitted to the mixed use areas like commercial, residential,
Mhm.
are they gonna be only allowed to do a residential ADU, or will it be a mixed use ADU? Like if I want to run a business, a hairdresser business out of my ADU, could I, because it was in a mixed use?
If that was your sole purpose for the ADU,
Yeah.
no. An ADU is specifically, the purpose of it is for residents.
Right. I just didn't know, because if it was in mixed use, if that was,
Well, all of our mixed use districts are overlay districts. So in this instance, you would go by the underlying zoning. So if you were in the MCEOD, which is, along Main Street, that's commercial. So your underlying zoning would be commercial. So you would have to seek the special permit anyways, because it's not a residential district. Even though an MCEOD allows for residents, it's not a residential district, that's the overlay. So it would be the underlying district that the property fell under.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I may have mistaken when I've said that, the short-term rentals were by statute. It may be that the municipalities actually have the right to prohibit them, so
There's nothing
I'll look
nice.
a little further, but.
Yeah.
Right now, just to get back on you.
Yeah, as I said, I
Yeah.
will defer to town council on
Well,
that.
I made a note, so we'll find answers, a confirmation of the answer. Keep Ruby?
Mr. Chair, not sure that this, you need to consider whether you want an answer to this question, but
Sure.
I'm curious on the second order effects of this in terms of sewer capacity and who, whether it's the sewer commission, the select board, whether this is gonna create a rush to potentially develop into these units, eat up sewer capacity and thereby cause there to be less developable land or less sewer capacity. You still have developable land, but then push the issue where now package plants or leach fields are the only answer to sewer capacity or sanitary
point.
sewer. So I'm not sure who has considered that, if anybody, and if there's anybody here, I'd love to hear their opinion on it. And not that it's gonna change anything, so.
Correct,
Maybe
yeah.
not relevant.
Yeah, understood. Great question, Mel. Go ahead.
ADUs are allowed as of today, as of the last pass, they're allowed by right. We cannot prohibit an ADU
Understood.
under state law. What this bylaw is looking to do is just give some oversight to the town so that, because as of today, I could start an ADU that's right up next to my neighbor. Because there's nothing on our books that says I have to comply with the setbacks, that I have to comply with design, that I can't plop it right over and cut all the vegetation between my new ADU and my neighbor's house. So this bylaw is really looking to give the town some control. The sewer capacity could very possibly become an issue if we have a bunch of people push for that, and that's one of the things that comes into play here is what the sewer capacity is. But by not passing this, you're not gonna address that problem.
I understand.
That could still present itself.
Go ahead, Joyce.
Just a quick question about the setbacks and everything though. Wouldn't, even if somebody chose to build an ADU prior to this law, this amendment, they would still have to abide by the setbacks of the side yards and the,
They could fight it
Mhm.
because it's not in the state statute.
so my shed, which I had to make sure was within,
Because
But-
that's in our zoning bylaw.
but an ADU, so I could turn my shed basically into
There's
an
actually
ADU.
regulations regarding that in here, regarding turning a non-living, a structure that was not for occupancy into one. Now, that also, you're also assuming that your shed is large enough to be, is built in such a way to be considered.
No,
a-
what I'm saying though is I had to abide by the laws for my shed, but I don't
No,
have
most
to turn
sheds- Well,
ADU.
just to answer your point, most sheds are not considered to be permanent structures.
Fixed.
So if you
Okay.
have a non-permanent structure shed, that is, like, my shed is on cinder blocks sitting on the ground.
Okay,
So I can physically pick my shed up if I get my husband and my son and John's son, who we do this with, we grab him to do it too. And I say, pick this thing up and move it. I can put it wherever I want because it's not a permanent structure.
gotcha.
So that is a little different of a question because the vast majority of sheds are not permanent structures, but there are provisions in the state law with regards to taking a non-residential structure and turning it into an ADU.
Perfect.
Finally, Mr.
Yeah, go ahead,
Chair.
Kathy.
Yeah, to go back to the sewer capacity, Nicole, if you have a buildable lot and it's all legal to put a single family dwelling on it, you still have to go to the, DPW to get all the hookups, and they could, in fact, someday down the road, deny that if there isn't sewer capacity, especially now with the most recent, state law regarding the Charles River pollution. Now, would the same hold true for a accessory dwelling unit, or were you just saying right now that usurps what requirements are for a
No,
single
no, no,
family home?
if you wanna build, if your home is on town sewer and you wanna build an ADU and there isn't sewer capacity, then your only option would be put in you
Okay.
could still build it, you'd have to put in a septic system.
Okay.
It does not, no, it does not usurp water requirements, septic requirements, sewer requirements, any
Oh,
health
okay.
code regulations like that.
Well done. Thank you, Nicole.
He's so smart.
So, good points all around. So, if this was not to pass, what's the downside?
We have no control. If I want to build, if anybody wants to put an ADU in there on their property, we have no control. We have no oversight. We can't control where the property is going to go. We can't, we don't, if the neighbor comes, we have no site control at all.
So are
Mr.
you
Chair.
saying if this doesn't pass, they could happen anyway?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Mike.
Mr. Chair,
It can happen today because we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
I could go tomorrow morning and pull a building permit and none of this would apply to me. All I have to do is follow the state road.
Thank you.
Yeah,
this is not dissimilar to the warrant article that we had in the last meeting in which the DPW put in a warrant article regarding restrictions on water use. Because the state mandated it,
Correct.
and they tailored it to a point where they could get what would be best for our community. But it was a state mandated thing. So here you've taken a state statute and you've, adjusted it so that it meets some of the requirements that we think are good for millers.
Yes.
Jody, since these are your articles, do you have any final questions?
No, Nicole always does a great job.
Thank you. I apologize, Jody, because I had typed something out and I didn't grab it, but I can send it to you.
All right, that'd be
To use
great.
for town council to tell me.
Thanks.
Does anyone have any questions for Nicole, so we don't have to hold her here as we go through the article of the warrant?
Now tell us that this land use is not the most interesting subject around, right, Nicole?
I think it
Okay,
is, but
thank you.
no.
Fair enough.
Kathy, you and I are into boring stuff.
Fair enough. Nicole, thank you very much. I know that there's
Thank you.
dual meetings going on tonight, so I thank you for your time coming here and explaining all this.
I'm pulling 6 permits tomorrow. I already have my hammer and wood out in the backyard.
All right.
It's already hooked up.
Before the
to
construction starts, let's move into the warrant. So let me just get organized here. Okay, everyone should have the most updated warrant that is online, that has been passed out. We will go through the warrant and we will go through all the articles in the warrant with each member who is assigned to that article and have discussion and vote on recommendations. So go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the Finance Committee recommend approval of Article 1, which is the vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $15,396.63 to pay unpaid bills referred by the town departments from previous fiscal years as written.
It's been recommended that we approve Article 1 as written, in the sum of $15,396.63 and seconded. Discussion. No discussion. Starting, we'll do roll calls tonight for all these articles just to keep it clean. Starting with Pete,
Aye.
but,
I mean, that's gonna take a long time. We're all here.
fair, okay, all right, fair enough. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, those in favor?
Opposed?
Nay. All right, we're using Jody's experience here. All right, Pat Nancy, thank you. All right,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
I move that the Finance Committee recommend dismissal of Article 2.
Second.
it's been recommended to dismiss Article 2, and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, moving on to Article 3. I move that the Finance Committee recommends approval that the town vote to fix the compensation of elected officers, provide for a reserve fund, and to raise and appropriate, including appropriations from taxation and by transfer from available funds, all as specified below, the sum of $47,269,970.30 to defray charges and expenses to the town, including debt and interest, and a reserve fund for the general fund for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, as outlined in Table 2 of the Finance Committee report, with the following revenue sources: taxation, $45,219,942.01, ambulance fund, $957,673.50, perpetual care interest, $332, sale of cemetery lots, $7,431.89, cell tower revenue, $56,897, bond premium release, $79,400.51, marijuana impact fees, $182,909.51. And to authorize the following transfers: sewer fund indirect cost of general fund, $269.48. Water fund indirect cost to general fund, $325,440.47. And last, stormwater fund indirect cost to general fund, $173,673.93.
Second.
It's been recommended and seconded to approve Article 3, which is essentially the town budget as written for $47,269,970.30. Discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Jody.
So, this is the first meeting that we've had the water, sewer and, stormwater, budgets in front of us.
Correct.
And on what, the sheets that we have, the salary amounts that the town administrator is proposing are different from what the FY 26 requests are. I wonder if, we could have a discussion of that.
Of course, so let's see here, you are looking at the current budget numbers?
Yes, I'm looking at the actual budget for the water sewer.
Okay, these are the handouts?
Yeah.
Okay, those are online, does everybody have those? Okay. And on the handouts and online, yeah, okay. Continue, Jody, just want to make sure everyone has it.
Yeah, I wondered if we have anyone here who can kind of explain, what, like, for instance, the sewer enterprise, the personnel services expenditure is quite a bit higher than the FY 26 request, at least the proposed budget amount. So,
Yeah.
are we able to have a discussion about that or? just
Mike,
some
would you like
explanation
to,
of it?
obviously Jim McKay is not here, so Mike, do you have any thoughts on this?
Chairman,
I'm here as well, so if you guys have questions, I
thank
can
you, Jody.
certainly jump in.
With the
Yeah.
DPW director on this, so I would defer to her on this particular question.
Jody, you're up.
Yeah, absolutely. So just so that I'm clear on what you guys are looking at, are we looking at the enterprise budgets, water, sewer, stormwater? Is that what, Jody, you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay, and you're looking at that in relation to the amount that we're transferring?
I'm actually looking at the FY 26 request, so that's in the green columns.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Versus the town administrator proposed, because those amounts vary, quite a bit. So.
So you'll get sewer, for example, the sewer. one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
the
I
sewer
can
one
speak
is-
to to most of that. If you're looking at a particular one, we can look at it together. Do you want to look at water or stormwater or sewer? Do you have a
Let's look at
preference?
sewer, because that one's, I think the biggest, magnitude
Sure.
differential.
Which one was that, Joe?
The sewer.
Sewer, okay. Yep, let me just get that in front of me as well. Bear with me just a moment.
Are you referring to?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I just wondered if anyone was looking.
Okay, so let me look at sewer. And we're looking at the difference between 1631, 692, and 1702.
I'm looking at the difference in the, let's say, the personnel services for the sewer enterprise fund,
Salaries, clerical.
where the total of the personnel
Oh.
services, the FY 26 requests are 224,980. And the town administrator proposed is 292
Okay,
for
Perfect.
25. Well,
Absolutely. Yep. So
good on
thank you
that?
for that question. So essentially, when the budgets were prepared, the town administrator and team were in active contract negotiations with the DPW. And so the FY 26 requested column doesn't reflect any of the contractual increases as it related to those particular bargaining units. So the proposed amount includes all of the contractual increases as a result of bargaining.
would that be the case? So that's the case for all of the enterprise.
That's the case for every single one, yes. And the amount, if you draw a correlation to the amount of the enterprise fund transfers, that becomes a product of the percentage of indirect costs that are associated with running the enterprise funds. And if you have not seen that worksheet, we can certainly circulate that, but that is a percentage of each account, account within the budget, but essentially it's 2.5% over last year. And that's been the agreed upon amount year over year. So that's where the numbers on the warrant come from.
Jody, we've received that in the past. If possible, could you please provide it to us?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Pete.
just so we're clear, now I'm looking at the sewer enterprise expenditure, the wages line. The request is 108,807, and the actual is 167,298. So we're saying that over 50% of the costs are wage increase and administrative fees for that?
Yes, so what we look at is a measure, and that could have just been, something that might have potentially been missing from the request, but if we look at what was the adopted number in 25 to basically the proposed number in 26. That's really where we are looking at our true increase. I know that the DPW director had given a couple of different scenarios with an allocation of resources and a redistribution between the enterprise funds and the general fund. So that may also be why that number was so much lower in that area when he first requested that. But again, upon the collaborative discussions that we had, this is where he landed in terms of the resource allocation. And if we look at it as a true measure of what was adopted in 25 versus what's being proposed in 26, that's really where I would have you guys focus your metrics.
So it went from 161,935 to 167,298
Correct.
is what you're saying, and it was just, yeah, thank
Yes.
you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna bring this up in a few minutes, but we can address it now, either Jody or Mike. Can you just shed some light on the union contract, the rotation, and where things stood after they finished?
Mike, do you want to handle that one?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. He's coming up.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you elaborate a little more on what specific aspects?
Just the rotation of all the contracts, and unless I'm being redundant here, but just the rotation of the contracts, and just a little more depth in terms of explaining what's going on with the enterprise fund as we're talking about now. I think that can be probably applied to some of the salaries departments.
Yes, so all 5 collective bargaining agreements have been ratified.
Yep.
So most of the cost driving factors related to that had to do with, number one, the COLA, and generally most contracts were at 2.5%. The contract for AFSCME, which is the DPW, was actually at 3% for this, a 1-year agreement. That contract is a 1-year agreement. All the other contracts were 3-year agreements.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is we felt we needed a full review of the whole setup of the DPW and how the payments are made, meshing in all the stipends and everything else. So we were looking at reframing how employees were graded and adjusted. So we thought we'd take a fresh look at that, but we really didn't want to get into that because we knew it was going to take 3, 4, 5 months to do that. We knew we wouldn't hit the deadline for this town meeting. So we went for a 1 year at 3%. We also made some adjustments to a few of the stipends and a few of clothing allowance and meal, special meal allowance and things like that. The other agreements, most of the drivers had to do with the review of stipends, a 2.5% COLA, as well as a review of the step schedules in general from those. As the finance committee may know, for most collective bargaining agreements over the past really 6 to 9 years, we've kept to about a 2.5% annual increase. So we did review a lot of other communities in order to make an adjustment for that. We worked with the different collective bargaining agreements, and many of them had an adjustment in their step scale. So the step 1 was eliminated, and we added a new step 10. So that's part of the reason why you'll see in the contracts this particular year that some of the departmental wage salary items have gone up over 5%.
Yep.
That's really a 1-year effect. We expect in the years 2 and 3 of the contract that you'll see numbers below 5% for those increases. So
And is it
again,
safe, and not to predict the future, but is it safe to say those numbers will come down in years 2 and 3?
yes,
Fiscal year 27 and
they
28?
definitely will.
Okay.
We're assured of that based on how the contracts are structured. So essentially, this year was a little higher increase, but years 2 and 3 will essentially just be 2.5% COLA for years 2 and 3. Plus, if an employee is eligible for a step increase, they also get a step increase per the scale. And we also, again, in the contracts, the review was looking at stipends and other factors. So there was some adjustments. And again, that tends to be just year 1. So there's no really further adjustments as we go beyond into years 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So that's why this year, we did utilize 6%. We were able to add a DPW laborer and add a few hours to a few key positions. But going forward, we expect we should be able to get by in the next 2 years, hopefully with 4%. As far as salaries and wages, if inflation factors hit us in expenses and other areas that may impact our ability to do that, but that's, that's yet to be
The
seen.
bridge down the road. Sorry to divert that from sewer, Jody. If you want to go back to sewer and talk about specifics of sewer, thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
No, that answered my question. I just, where we hadn't really had a chance to discuss the budgets yet.
Agreed.
And there was, such a difference there within the columns. I just wanted us to, understand exactly what was going into the budget numbers.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I don't know if this is more appropriate for the enterprise funds coming up, but there was talk about relieving the water department for the overtime use that is charged for snow and ice removal. And I'm wondering, Mr. Chair, is this included in this budget? I shouldn't.
Get a front row seat,
I'm
Mike.
getting my steps.
All right, good.
So, actually, that was a major part of the discussions we had in some of these negotiations. And that's part of the reason why we only had a 1-year agreement, and we want to look at that in the framework of really the whole operation of the DPW, the enterprise, the snow and ice, the regular operations. So we want to look at that and incorporate positive changes there for a subsequent, hopefully 2-year agreement. But that was brought up as part of the discussions as something we need to look at going forward. So the short answer is there's no major shift there in this fiscal year.
Yeah.
But we do, again, part of the reason why we've delayed and just on a 1-year contract is because that's one of the things we're going to look at and address.
So I just to clear myself, we can let the water ratepayers know that they will continue to pay for snow and ice removal, that water department and other enterprise employees.
Yeah.
For clarification, basically, the stipends that the DPW employees get, it's a water stipend, it's related to a water license, a sewer license. When they do other types of, when they go and work on snow and ice, that portion, that stipend portion is what is still paid for by the water and sewer payers, not the whole amount. It's that portion of the stipend.
Correct.
In that they have those stipends for the purposes of water and sewer. The fact that they happen to be doing snow and ice, we view it up in this time as secondary. But again, we're taking a fresh look at that going forward, FY 27 and going forward, so that it will be part of that core discussion.
Thank you. Go ahead, Pete.
Mr. Kaczynski,
Steps, get your steps.
could you briefly describe the increase in the Charles River Pollution Control District, increase in O&M by 20%?
My understanding is, and I will probably defer to the DPW director at a future meeting, but to the best of my knowledge, it has to do with a lot of the upgrades they've been required to do as part of the new DEP regulations at the plant. And they pass those costs on to all the customers at the city, including us. But beyond that, I couldn't answer in any more specificity as to the exact upgrades or the exact changes necessary. But I know in my conversations with some of the administrative staff there, that is something that they've been working on for several years as part of the new requirements.
Would you characterize it as capital improvements or upgrades or O&M, like digital record keeping or administration or monitoring?
I believe there were some capital upgrades, but in addition to that, I think they do have to do additional monitoring and additional testing as part of the new DEP regulations. We have to deal with that on our drainage and phosphorus and so forth, but it's a real central feature to their operation. And because the Charles River is considered such a sensitive waterway, at least politically, in the Commonwealth, that they're held to a very high standard, and those costs are going up. So I was not happy to see that, but I kind of knew it was probably lurking in the future at some point because of those needed changes to the plan.
Thank you.
Pete, where was that on the line item? I made a note to follow up.
It's in the sewer
Sewer?
enterprise.
Yeah.
It is on page 2 of 2.
Yeah.
About half, maybe quarter way down the page.
Under articles.
CR PCD O&M costs in the budget.
Thank you. Gotcha. Any other questions?
Just a comment. Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
go ahead.
I'm not going to be prepared to vote on this tonight, not that one vote matters at all, or on the enterprise votes. I will, do whatever the people want, but, out of respect for the committee, our policy that, was so hard worked on requires 48 hours given to the finance committee so that the committee has an opportunity rather than shuffling papers tonight. And especially not to have the breakdown on the indirect costs that are coming from this so that they may be reviewed in a better manner. I definitely, large budget item like this, I don't feel comfortable to the ratepayers voting for this.
So you approve of the numbers, you just don't approve of the 48-hour rule?
No, I haven't had a chance to I'm still waiting to hear if I'm going to report on town meeting on these articles. I'd like to see the breakdown that, as you stated, we've received every year previously about what comes what, where, how is this gonna affect,
Okay.
stuff like that.
So a couple, my 30,000 foot comments on the budget. We've gone over it, obviously, over the last few months, a lot of weeks. Normal revenue increases through taxation, annual growth, local receipts was a big part of that to meet the expenses of a 6% increase, which is abnormally larger, let's put it that way. That was able to offset the school deficit that we saw earlier in the season, providing structure for the town administration with a new HR department, hiring a DPW worker, firefighter, and it reflects the new negotiations of the union contracts, as Mike just talked about. Some of the bigger items overall, kind of to Pete's and Jody's comments earlier. Some of these line items have shifted, such as IT, shifting out of some of the departments to the IT department, the technology department. Other areas such as rec, town clerk, those have increased because of additional hours. And elections have decreased from 4 down to 2, I believe. So there are some big swings on a percentage basis on all these line items. All of them, in my opinion, can be justified as well as explained on each one, but that's kind of the trend that's been happening overall. Last item, I just want to point out that the non-discretionary expenses on the budget has gone up by 11.8%, which is astronomically high, and we all know that. We talked about that over the last few meetings. And the discretionary expenses have gone up by 5.93%. So there's no question. It's becoming more and more costly to live in a town. But those are my comments. Any other further comments?
Yes, I was just wondering if now's the appropriate time for the town administrator to perhaps brief us on what the cherry sheet came out recently and the 167,000.
Do you have any updates on that,
And
Mike?
I'm smiling because Craig Schultz is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I will give my 2 cents and then maybe defer to the finance director if she has a little more accurate numbers to the dollar.
Sure.
My understanding is, well, certainly from our end, we estimated basically a zero, a flat as
Yeah.
far as cherry sheet on our revenue estimates, which has been pretty close to accurate the last 3 or 4 years. My understanding is that earlier today, the House Ways and Means Committee released a budget, which increased our chapter 78 per pupil from $104 to $150, which that is good news. But it's also my understanding that in order to pay for that, they reduced our unrestricted general government aid, which was going to go up by about 3% to 0.
Yeah,
So essentially that's kind of a break even.
sure.
So it really doesn't change our bottom line very much.
Yep.
because We take all our revenues and put them in a pot and then determine, our different methodology and how to split it. So I don't think overall this cherry sheets have changed that much from our initial estimates, but I would defer to Jody if she has any other details she wants to add to that.
Any additional comments, Jody?
I really don't. I mean, Mike said it all. It's marginal as far as the changes, and I'd just like to remind the board and those listening that we have 2 more budget committees reviews to go. So I think we're pretty comfortable, keeping our estimates in this area pretty flat. And anything else will be a bonus, but to be conservative, we'll just, we'll continue to move ahead as planned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Mike. There's no further discussion? Let's take a vote. Pete Underhill?
Aye.
No, we'll do it. We'll, for the budget, we'll go around.
Aye.
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 No,
Aye.
8-1-0 for approving, Article 3. Moving on to Article 4. Kathy?
again, Mr. Chair, I will support what the committee says on these following three articles, and I will present them as such to town meeting. I'm not going to vote on them.
Okay, can you read through the articles?
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from sewer department receipts the following sums to operate a sewer enterprise fund beginning July 1, 2025, including a reserve fund or take any action in relation thereto. Salary and wages, $292,425.12. Expenses, $1,410,076.48 for a total of $1,702,501.60.
Second.
It's been recommended and second for to approve article number 4, sewer enterprise fund, for a total of $1,702,501.60. Discussion. Notice. Yeah. Go ahead, Jody.
So, forgive my ignorance.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we look at the sewer enterprise budget,
Yeah.
so we have our revenues up at the top here, and then, we have the expenditures below that.
Correct.
And then we have the amount that's in the article. That would be in the capital article, which would mean that the total budget would exceed the total revenues. So is that borrowing from reserve fund in the sewer or?
I can answer that
702
question.
at the bottom?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I can
Jody, go
answer
ahead.
that question. So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
number that we balance to when we're balancing the enterprise budgets is the total expenditures against the total revenues. Any of the articles are going to come out of retained earnings within the enterprise fund. So what this identifies is that a portion of the DPW truck that was asked for as part of the capital planning process will be paid out of the water enterprise. And you'll also see that in the sewer and the water, sewer and stormwater enterprise funds as well. So we don't have to raise and appropriate for that particular piece because it's going to be paid for through retained earnings. And you'll see that in a later article.
Okay, thanks.
So how about?
I wanted to know how the math works.
Yep. Thank you.
Important part. No more further discussion. Let's take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor?
No,
No, abstain? Passes 8-1.
Article 5.
Yes.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from water department receipts the following sums to operate the water enterprise fund beginning July 1, 2025, including a reserve fund or take any action related thereto. Do I say both, Mr. Chair, or is it a total, do you think?
Now you can say both.
Salary and wages, $560,440.33. Expenses, $2,061,133.67 for a total of $2,621,574.
Second.
It's been recommended and second to approve Article 5. Discussion. No discussion. Pete, sorry, excuse me. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No,
Abstained? Passes 8-1. Article 6.
Mr. Chair, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from stormwater department receipts the following sums to operate the Stormwater Enterprise Fund beginning July 1, 2025, including a reserve fund or take any other action in relation thereto. Salaries and wages, $275,710.91. Expenses, $498,618, for a grand total of $774,328.91.
Second.
It's been recommended and seconded to approve Article 6 as written for a total of $774,328.91. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No,
Thanks. Passes 8-1. Article 7,
Mr. Chair.
Ruby. Yes,
Do you want me to read everything or? do
No.
you want me to-
I don't, but I appreciate you
I'm
asking.
just making sure.
Yeah.
The town vote, I move that the committee vote to recommend Article 7 to approve the items as written and the warrant as consent Article 7.
Second.
Been recommended to approve and second to, for Article 7. Is there any discussion? There discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Staying? Passes 9-0. Article 8, that's me. Gotta scroll through a few pages there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go
I'd
ahead.
just like to make one comment at this point.
Yes.
For those people who may be joining the meeting, have not joined our meetings in the past. We're making votes and it looks like we're not having much discussion. We've been discussing this for the last 4 months. So just so you don't think that we haven't considered all of the factors involved in these things, we've been holding these meetings on a regular basis. Since January, we've been discussing these matters. We've had the appropriate parties in to speak to us about them. So we are taking these votes based on a tremendous amount of knowledge that we've gained this year and in other years. So just so the general public knows, if you're visiting us for the first time in this meeting.
And that's why we have you as vice chair. I should have explained that, but you did. So thank you. Appreciate that. I move that the finance committee recommend approval of Article 8. As written, however, I'm gonna say a couple highlights here. To transfer free cash, the sum of $363,060.50. Transfer from Water Enterprise Reserve Fund, the sum of $24,707.50. Transfer from sewer, $24,707.50, and transfer from stormwater reserve fund, $24,707.50 for a total sum of $437,183. All of these capital items, the 6 items that are listed below, animal control, DPW, fire, library, and school, have been discussed at the capital planning committee. The 24,000 increments are from the different enterprise funds to fund the dump truck, the DPW request.
Second.
Thank you. It's been recommended and seconded to approve Article 8 as written for a total of $437,183. Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
were we updated on the reserve fund balances for the enterprise funds, this year? And
I have the reserve fund of 50,000 on the
Enterprise.
no, the enterprise reserve funds, so,
I'm
this
sorry.
would be what's in the water enterprise reserve fund, the sewer enterprise reserve fund, and the stormwater enterprise reserve fund.
Yeah, I follow you now. Jody Kersey, are you still online? Are you on Zoom with me? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry.
That's okay. Did you get a
I'm
question
not
for
sure,
Sarah?
what had been shared historically, but I do have that information. Again, timing, I apologize that it's now, but I do have that information available and can share it.
That would be great. I think that's useful to know going into
Absolutely.
town meeting so that, we are
Yes,
prepared with those questions, especially as we're taking funds out and the budgets are putting funds in.
yes, I will be happy to get that together for you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, both Jody and Jody. Further discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Same, passes unanimously, 9-0. Moving on to Article 9, Sarah.
I move that the finance committee recommend that the town vote to borrow under the provisions of MGL chapter 44 or any other enabling authority the sum of $137,632 for the lease/purchase of 2 police cruisers.
Second.
It's been recommended and second to approve Article 9 as written. $137,632 for the lease/purchase of 2 police cruisers. Discussion,
I have a discussion, but I do have a question from Mr. Kaczynski.
please do. That's fine.
I just wanted to confirm the first year cost in the budget with you. I have the number, but I want to make sure I have the correct number.
First year cost of the lease.
Yes. For both.
I would probably defer that to the finance director,
Okay,
actually.
I'll send her an email then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kersey, do you have that available now? or do
Okay,
you need to do a
so
little
we're
research?
looking at, I would have to dig into the police budget to understand the
Yeah.
vehicle leases and purchase costs. Right now, let's just see. There's one line item in their budget, that covers the lease purchase costs. But I feel like I would rather talk to the chief to understand and make sure that that number is accurate. But I do understand that it covers the lease of 2 police cruisers. And by requirement, through statute, we have to put anything on the town warrant that allows us to enter into lease agreements. So that's why it is there, but we will certainly look at the exact amount, of the cost of 2 cruisers in current pricing.
Thank you, Jody.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mike.
just to clarify, make sure I'm correct on this. So the leasing was authorized at a prior town meeting, correct? And therefore what we're doing here is simply enabling the leasing. But
Correct.
the purchase lease of the cruisers was done at a prior town meeting.
Actually, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please go ahead, Mike.
So, the amount that's in the police budget is the amount to cover all leases, that are
Yeah.
currently in effect. And this lease,
Oh,
which is
this is-
being proposed.
Okay,
So this would be, if the town meeting were to approve this article, you're actually authorizing the lease of 2 additional police cruisers. As others are falling off.
okay.
So,
So this wasn't a capital item. This is within the budget.
correct.
Okay.
The capital committee decided several years ago that police
Okay.
cruisers and school buses would be included within the operational budgets.
Yeah, but leases,
Leases included,
because we have a school van. on capital.
school vans are different. Because school buses are a lease purchase,
Thank you for
and
clarifying.
police cruisers are a lease purchase.
Yeah.
And because of the really waiving effect of those budgets from one year to the next, it created some concern. So I think it was about 3 years ago that switch was made. So again, the police cruisers the funding is in the police budget. And Jody will get those numbers, but what you're actually doing here tonight in a town meeting is just authorizing borrowing or a lease
Yeah.
for two individuals.
Thank you for clarifying. Other comments, questions? No. All those in favor of Article 9 as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 9-0. Go ahead, Jen. Yeah.
I move that the finance committee vote to recommend, approval of Article 10 as written. This is the article transferring from free cash the, cost to pay for the, tri-county debt, thus alleviating at least temporarily the need to do any kind of override or something like that.
Second.
Oh, the amount of, yes, that is right, but yes, $593,075.
Thank you, Jen. And second.
Oh, keep me honest.
What was that?
I told her to keep me honest.
Yeah. So it's been recommended second to approve Article 10 as written in the sum of $593,075. Discussion. No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Passes 9-0. Jen, you're up again.
Yep, I move that the finance committee vote to recommend passage of Article 11 is written, which is a similar article transferring from free cash the sum of $300,000 for unanticipated building repairs for municipal and school buildings. And this is exclusive of the school renovation project. This is for pop-up thing that may happen.
Second.
Correct. It's been recommended second to approve Article 11 as written in the sum of $300,000 even. Discussion. No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 9-0. Thank you, Jen. Article 12, Joyce.
That would be me. Okay, I move that the finance committee recommend to authorize the select board to petition the Massachusetts General Court for special legislation as set forth in Article 12.
Seconded.
Been recommended second to approve Article 12 as written. To approve special legislation as authorized by the select board. Discussion.
Just to let all people know that this article, if approved, would allow qualifying senior citizens to apply for property tax exemption for future school projects, provided they meet Massachusetts circuit breaker guidelines.
Thank you.
There's more information, but
Yeah.
do you want that?
No.
Okay.
Further discussion.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Just for the edification of those listening from outside this meeting, there are 6 enumerated requirements that must take place before a senior would be able to take advantage of this exemption.
Well,
There are qualifying income, there are age requirements, there are requirements for assessed value, and that the Board of Assessors has to approve the application for exemption. So just so people are clear, this isn't for every person in the town over the age of 65.
Thank you for elaborating on that. Article. Go ahead, Kathy.
Could you please tell me how much this would increase the, expect the amount of the bond to be borrowed on the non-qualifying taxpayers?
well,
The one with an increase.
if
The
you,
tax.
I don't know if you want me to discuss any of this.
Let's let Greg, Craig have a shot.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
This was put on obviously because we do have a school override coming up and there are a lot of people in this town that are concerned about the long-term residents that are on low incomes who are seniors and how this would affect them. So that's the intent behind it. In 2022, there were 258 people in the town who qualified for the circuit breaker. And that's one of the enumerated points that you mentioned, Mike. So they have to qualify for the circuit breaker. Of that 258, they also have to live in town for 10 years. They have to have property less than 1.1 million, I think it is, and other qualifications. And they also have to apply. We believe there'll be about 100 people applying for this. That would mean if there's $1,000 of borrowing, if the household cost would be $1,000 on average, and 100 people qualified and were accepted into it, that'd be $100,000. Done my math right?
Yeah.
That transfers from those who are low-income seniors, long-term residents, to the other group. Those of us that aren't low-income seniors. It would be, and it's impossible to say exactly, but it's probably between $25 and $50 per household for those that don't qualify, depending on how large your tax burden is, and how many people qualify. And it has to be applied for each year. And we understand that might be a hardship for some that are not seniors who don't qualify. We understand that, but this is the one exemption that the state allows us to give. They haven't allowed it for single parents, low-income individuals. This is the only exemptions they've ever granted are for seniors and occasionally veterans, but nothing like this for veterans. They've only granted this for seniors, low-income seniors.
Yeah.
And, obviously property tax are the most aggressive taxes we have. I mean, it's the worst way possible to fund things, but that's the way the state funds all this capital.
Yeah.
So this transfers it from those least able to afford it to, if the town decides at town meeting, the others in the town that may be able to afford it better.
Thank you. Go ahead. Pete.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to speak in opposition to this article,
Okay,
not on this basic principle.
Okay.
I do believe that the senior tax rebate has a place.
yeah,
My opposition is on how this is founded. It's carving out too specific of an item, the school building. And it's excluding that
correction.
from
It's school building plus future school projects.
even worse.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a very specific carve out of a tax exemption. I believe that there is an excellent program in place for the seniors to get a tax rebate. Perhaps looking into a general rebate would be, I would support that. But to start excluding specific uses of taxpayers' dollars is going to open up a door. I know we put up 100 different limits on this.
Okay,
But we can start having people saying, I have septic, why should I have to pay, why should I have to pay towards water and sewer?
yeah,
People are going, we can say this isn't going to happen, but we've all sat at town meetings where someone tried to take air conditioners out of police cruisers. All right,
good point.
we're gonna open this door and people are going to walk through it. People should not have a specific exemption, is where my opposition is.
Okay. Good points, good points. Joyce, do you wanna elaborate on, neighboring town, Hopkinton?
Hopkinton has been doing it and it has been very successful. They don't have a large number of people who are, oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was loud enough. Hopkinton's been very successful. John actually had a conversation and I've been reviewing it, but it does, I understand, your concerns about opening Pandora's box. But this is for the seniors that have been actually, I think the reason for this, and I tend to agree with it. I've been tossing it a lot around with this. I was for it, I wasn't for it, then I looked into it and I was like, no, and I thought seriously about it. And this is going to there's such a small amount of senior citizens who will qualify for this, but these are people truly, if it makes a huge impact on whether they stay in the town or not. And I understand there are lots of different people who have concerns about their finances. The programs, it's a tax relief and it's a tax relief for a very limited amount of people. And the burden that's gonna go to the other taxpayers will be a small amount. I know we can't give specifics because we don't have the future building, what it's gonna cost. But I think this was a way of helping the seniors because they don't have anything vested in the schools as far as having children in it. And I don't know, I understand your concerns, but this particular tax relief is one in which if they qualify for the circuit breaker tax relief, they'll qualify for this. And it's a very small amount.
Depending on the other variables. but
Yeah,
yes.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go
I
ahead,
don't know
Mike.
I mean, I can give you what the guidelines are, I have all that, but I do think that for those seniors, that handful of seniors, it really will make or break it for them.
Why don't we give Mike a shot here? Go ahead, Mike.
I understand your point about Pandora's box. The only thing I'll say is that Pandora's box is limited by town meeting. If future town meetings decide that they want to give tax deferral for a number of different things, they certainly can do that. But I think that being the limitation, that anything that comes down in the future, that would be something like this, would have to go through us, have to go through town meeting. And I think it's not as easy as it might be for something like this, where it's extremely limited. It's focused toward school building projects. I think that it's a concern, but I think it's one that's tempered by limitations.
Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I'll just say there's one other guardrail too. This has to go to the state legislature. And they're going to be really hesitant to approve large scale waiving of Prop 2.5 fees for groups. So they have shown a willingness to do it for a very tightly constricted number of seniors who are in the lowest income category. But but nobody's tried to bring anything else before the state legislature, and we can't change our tax code without their approval.
Yeah.
So,
Great point.
Okay, so what
Go
you're
ahead,
saying is we couldn't just say a tax exemption for any large town projects. I mean, I think I hear what you're saying, Pete. Is it just seems like, well, what happens if every single parent didn't want to pay for a senior citizen center override, right? Like, that's where I think you're getting at. It just seems kind of like, it hits me the wrong way too. It's kind of limited and kind of addictive, actually. Because if every time everybody doesn't like something that doesn't benefit their demographic and they're, you know, financially challenged, they're gonna try to bring up something like this, so.
With increased
Okay.
finances.
I think what this does is it allows the taxpayers to make a decision whether they would like to take care of the seniors who are truly in need or not. I don't know that it's our, what, did you want to say?
No,
something?
go ahead.
I don't know that it's our decision for I think it's a good opportunity for the seniors who are in desperate need. I do think that when it's brought up to the town meeting, people can ask questions. I've done a lot of research.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of parameters that they have to follow.
Yep.
So I would leave it up to the people, and I think also it's you know, at first when I thought about it and it was proposed, I was like, "Ah, I don't like this."
Yeah.
But it really is a good thing to be offering to the seniors who have they've gotten the short stick. They really have gotten the short stick.
Kathy, you have a question? I just saw you earlier.
Just a comment first is I think it's pitting one group against another.
Yeah.
And I don't see that. Why should someone whose family has 2, 3 incomes, jobs just to pay the bill? And also, if the person who's receiving all the exemptions, while the less amount is, dies, well, what happens when the property's sold and, to the extra money that comes in? Does that lower what, the existing taxpayers will owe?
yeah,
Go ahead.
a couple of points to that. As far as pitting one group against the other, this was in response to the people that are living in the new homes, and a lot of the new homes that are saying we're driving people out, and not just new homes, everybody. And we're trying not to drive people out. So that's why, that was the genesis of it. What could we do in a town legally to try to keep some of the long-term seniors in? So that was the first one. That's where it came about. So I think a lot of people have had an interest in doing that. So that's why we put that there. The second one, if the house sells that has the exemption on it, that will actually reduce and then those people start paying the
Right, it doesn't qualify
that
anymore.
will reduce what everybody else
Tax
is paying.
liability.
Yeah, and as more homes are built, since it's an override and since a debt exclusion, not an operational override, as more homes are built or homes fall off of this requirement, it will lower the cost to every other home in town because there's only X number of millions of dollars that we have to pay each year on it. Sounds so small when you say X million.
Yeah, understood.
You know, I did, you know, okay.
Hang on, Pete Under, did you have a question or a comment?
No, I think we can talk in circles and
Yeah.
get this thing.
It's just-
together.
Yeah.
I think everyone's.
My only 2 cents in comments is that, is this a step in the right direction for seniors? Yes. Is it perfect? No. Let's have the town decide whether they want it or not.
I will say, when I was at the meetings and everything, the first meeting, I walked out and I called John and I said, I can't support this. This is just, and for many of the same reasons that you all have said. But after talking to, yeah.
Go ahead, Jody.
So if I understand it, by the way this is written, so the circuit breaker credit isn't just an automatic.
No.
People have to apply and there's only a certain number of slots, right?
No,
Curve.
no, not number of slots.
As of the 222 tax returns, 258 residents qualified for the senior circuit breaker.
But do we have limits on the number of seniors?
The circuit breaker is a state tax
Yeah.
code law, and
Okay.
if you make under this amount, you get a credit of, I believe it's $2,700 on and you're a senior and you have these other things.
Right.
You
That's
get a
true.
credit back on your taxes. So we're gonna look at that tax form and say, oh, you qualify for this. There's step one, you proved your income.
Okay,
Step two is, let's see if you've lived in town 10 years.
right,
And then we go through.
Yeah, and
And
Jody,
then step,
okay.
do you want more information about the requirements?
Not,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
but thank you. My question is, you know, could there be 1,000 households that qualify?
no,
The maximum number in this town is 258.
Yep.
That could potentially,
Yes,
but
yes.
you have to have lived here 10 years. You have to be 65 and a spouse needs to be at least 60. If they're more than 5 years younger than you, there's so many guidelines that,
and the other
Income.
thing is, who's gonna come forward to do it?
Right.
Of that 258 people, maybe 100?
But I'm trying to understand, is it that there right now are only 238 households that qualify, or is that the limit of households that could qualify
No.
for this?
no, there's 258 that could possibly.
But there is not a cap on this.
No.
There you go.
Okay,
No.
that's
You
my
have to-
question.
There you
well,
go.
You have to live in town for 10 years.
Yeah.
So those are.
Right, I mean, there's a certain
Yeah.
natural cap,
Yeah.
but there's not a statutorial cap.
No.
Okay.
That was my question.
Yes, go ahead, Sarah.
No, I understand.
I'm not gonna, obviously, I agree
Yeah.
with Pete and Jody, I'm not gonna repeat.
Yep.
But I also did wanna say that,
Go ahead, continue.
I understand that there's a burden for the
Yep.
elderly population.
Sure.
That has a fixed income, but again, this is a community. We are responsible as living in this town to fund every aspect of the community. When they were of age that had children in the school, other people were paying for their children and they were paying for the school as well. So I can't say that further down the line, if I stay in Millis, I don't think it's fair that I should have to pay for the school because I don't have any children or grandchildren in it anymore, regardless of what my income level is.
Yeah.
I mean, like Jody said, this could change. It could be 1,000 people that no longer are able to pay and they meet all the requirements.
Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna be an extreme burden on everybody else in the town.
Why?
You're never gonna have that many people at that
Never
income
say
level.
never.
You
But
never-
if we think
You're
about
never
it,
gonna
you
have
know,
that many people at that income level in this town, please. How many citizens do we have in this town? That would be
we have
1/10 of
over
all the
10,000
citizens?
people in this
Yeah,
town.
but
Yeah,
again,
1/7 of all the people in
five
this town.
qualifying.
A large cohort, they're
Exactly.
aging and they may be out of
Yes.
jobs soon. It's
Soon.
gonna be a
Sure.
lot of.
Not everybody has, 401ks with millions of dollars in it either.
Mike Kaczynski, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly not gonna weigh into the policy discussion. That's
Sure.
up to You
You can if you want.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Basically, I just wanted to kind of clarify a few things.
Please.
Number one, the 258 as of the last certified year would be the absolute max. And again, that's if they can check off all other 5 of the
Yeah.
boxes. I did ask, the principal assessor, based on her discussions with Hopkinton and her knowledge, she estimated that she thought it'd be unlikely that it would be more than 100 people that would actually qualify for it, but probably not 100 would apply. What would happen 5 years from now? We could all speculate. I mean, we could have a depression, kinds of things could happen.
Yeah.
Especially based on what's going on today, but, all we can show you is a snapshot in time and what we expect. So we would expect, approximately 100 or less, approved
Understood.
applications. We do have about 4,000 taxable properties. So that would be about 2.5% of the properties. So I think the way to look at it is, if you thought about what your impact might be from this debt exclusion, add 2.5% to that impact. And that basically gives you the likely result.
Yeah.
As to, the impact. As far as fairness or whatever.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joyce.
I will say one thing though, as a senior and being involved with seniors downstairs, and I've had all these arguments with myself and John's heard it, the poor guy has heard me go bananas.
Be
So
concise.
has Mike. But I've talked a lot, when I mentioned this possibility to the seniors downstairs, have the income to be able to pay their taxes and take the burden of someone else's, they were actually very supportive of this. And they are the senior population. And I was very surprised and I'm not talking 5 people, I'm talking probably a group of 30 to 40 people. That when I talked to them all about this, because I wanted to get some feedback from them, they actually supported it and their feeling was, well, it's about time we take care of some of those folks that really are
Yeah.
deciding whether they can live here or not.
Thank you, Joyce.
Move the question.
Yes,
Mr. Chair?
yes, Pete.
Thanks. I'm gonna support it, and the main reason is just because the town and this committee should take an opinion on it, and maybe that's the whole purpose we're here, is to help advise people how they're gonna vote.
Absolutely.
So I'm definitely gonna vote on it.
Yeah.
And I'm in support of it, mainly because just like we can vote potentially for an override or recommending an override, which affects people's taxes, I'm personally of the opinion of any group that we can help reduce their taxes, and especially people that can't get jobs. It's difficult
Yeah.
difficult for them to get back into the workforce.
Yeah.
And to earn money
Yeah.
as the cost of living rises. I'm absolutely in support of that.
Thank you for your comments. I think we've kicked it around a bunch here. I'm gonna do a roll call just because I think everyone has great points and we might be a little divided here, so I just wanna make sure. So going around, starting with Pete Underhill, why don't you start off?
Nay.
Hey, should we come back to you?
Yeah.
You get a pass. Go ahead,
Is there an
Sarah.
item on the menu?
Yes.
Nay.
What?
Want to recommend you vote last because you should break a tie. And I don't think you should let people pass and see how the vote goes.
Oh, fair enough, fair enough. Let's,
Chairman's discretion.
yeah, understood. Let's keep at it, Joe, you're up.
I'll vote nay.
Sarah?
Nay.
Joyce?
Yes.
Mike Crone?
Yes.
Kathy?
No,
Jen?
No.
Pete?
Yay.
Whoa, what was that?
Yay,
Yeah, thank you.
Yay.
That was-
He's British all of a sudden.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am a yes as well. We have 5 no and 4 yeses. Moving on.
still goes before the people, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
So,
Understood. Go ahead, Mike.
Given the nature of the vote, the split, would you suggest that someone write, the opposing position?
Sure. Anyone want to volunteer?
Go ahead, Mike.
No, he's a yes.
Oh, you gave a yes?
I'm a yes.
that's the
Well,
minority.
no, that's the minority, so it would be someone who says,
Yeah,
yes,
correct.
if you don't want to.
You should, you're,
I'd be happy to.
Yeah,
That's
you can draft it up.
let the lawyer.
It's the minority.
Good. That's a good point.
So
Point
what
of
was
order,
the
Mr.
final
Chair.
vote?
So, go ahead.
Four.
Because Joyce did have this article and it was recommended dismissal. I just wanted to check to see if she's comfortable recommending dismissal of this article at town meeting or wants to pass this on to somebody else.
Fair question. I looked into policies and procedures.
We've gone both ways.
Correct, and this doesn't say in the FinCom procedures that you voted one way and the result is a different way, that you have to pass it
It's a
on.
tradition, but not.
Yeah.
set in
Well, I
stone.
voted
Joyce?
for it.
Right, so you
Right.
would have to recommend dismissal at town meeting. If you're not comfortable with that, the article should pass to somebody else.
Oh, because I voted yes.
Correct.
Well, you
It
simply
took me a
said,
little while to catch on.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah. I'm fine.
Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
Great point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, very much
I
so.
appreciate
Good
that.
point.
That was
Yeah.
very respectful.
Did you have a comment?
I'm voting opposed to enterprise funds, but I'll still yield to the.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yep, yep.
But it wasn't close. And I lost as
So,
usual.
so at town meeting, I would say what, that the.
You're just doing the recommendation of
you're
FinCom.
giving the board's recommendation, committee's
To dismiss-
recommendation, not your
dismiss
own.
it. No, no, to
Yeah.
dismiss
Committee's
it.
recommendation.
Even, so I, pardon?
I mean, she can still stand up on that microphone and speak as an individual.
Yeah, you can speak as a
No,
resident.
no, that's not what I'm saying. I would just, instead of going through the article, I would just say the finance committee has recommended dismissal.
So then you would have to say the points as to why the
You have
finance
to-
committee recommended dismissal.
Right.
So you can, so between now and
Yeah,
town meeting.
you and I.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Great points, everybody. Appreciate everyone participating. Moving on to Article 13, Mike Crone.
Mr. Chair, I move that the town vote to approve the changes to the Millis Home Rule Charter as set forth in Article 13, which would change the position of town clerk from elected to appointed.
Second.
It's been recommended and seconded to approve Article 13 as written to, change the town clerk from elected to appointed. Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just want to say that I do support this article, which I did not support in the past when it was before the town, and it did not pass, but I feel the circumstances and the staff that are there now warrant confirmation of this article.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Jody.
I agree with Kathy.
Thank you.
Chair,
Go ahead, Pete.
I had this article a few years ago. I supported it then, I support it now.
Fantastic. All those in favor of, recommending approval for Article 13 as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same.
Mr. Chair?
Mike Crone.
I move that the town vote to amend Article 5 of the town's general bylaws by adding section 31 as written, which would establish a permanent tri-board committee to meet 4 times a year.
Second.
It's been recommended and seconded to approve Article 14 as written to have tri-board, committee meetings 4 times a year. Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
it's just unfortunate that this couldn't have been done on its own, that it requires a town meeting vote to do this. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have always had, I'll get to the mic.
Yeah.
We have
thank you.
always had
Right.
three tri-board meetings every year since this was
Mhm.
put in place.
Yeah.
It was proposed by the Department of Labor, Department of Local.
DLS.
DLS, the
DLS.
Department of Local Services. It's
Yeah.
getting close, DOL, DLS, yeah. But the Department of Local Services recommended we codified it.
Okay.
Several former select board members saw this as a major defect in the town that we hadn't codified it.
Okay.
So now we're codifying it, so it doesn't require this to happen. We've been doing it
Correct.
without it, and that's been our argument.
Yeah.
Now we're making it official, so when this select board goes away and this finance committee goes away,
Everyone's got to sit
we've
down.
tied the hands of everybody that comes after us.
Love it.
There we go.
Thank you for elaborating. Further discussion. All those in favor of Article 14 as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Probably good of you.
Article 15, Joyce.
So I move that the finance committee vote to transfer the care, custody, management, and control of the town-owned properties listed in Article 15 from the select board for general municipal purposes to the select board for disposition. This, as written, these articles below.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was an easy one.
It has been recommended and seconded to approve Article 15 as written, which outlines all of the properties that are on here that we don't need to go through. But people can look at it. Discussion.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Mike.
Again, for those who have not been part of the meetings, we have discussed this with the board before. We've had an article like this last year. It's simply disposing of properties that are currently not on the tax roll to hopefully sell them to individuals that may be adjoining these properties, abutting these properties, so that they can go back on the tax roll. All of these properties consist of small parcels of land. The town does not find any use for these parcels, town use for these parcels. And that is one of the reasons they've asked for disposition.
Thank you for elaborating on those.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Kathy.
I was just wondering if any funds or anything from the sales of this could be set aside in some sort of account to be used for a purpose other than paying the bills of the town, that it would show that, I'm sure Ellen could explain what these were for people that went to movies, they got little coupons to buy. And just if something like this could be used for fields or something earmarked rather than just pay tomorrow's bills.
You mean the proceeds of selling these?
Right,
lots?
right.
Go ahead, Craig.
We can take that under advisement. The
Yeah.
taxes that people will pay for it will go into general taxation, but the money that we get on the sales, we can certainly take into advisement other options for that.
Good idea.
Good point. Easy. Any other further discussion? Keep Ruby.
The previous list we saw had a lot on here for, that was listed as 2.2 acres.
Yeah, we took it off.
I'm curious why.
Select chair. Rosenfeld says
She
it.
doesn't need a
Taken off.
microphone.
Mike Kaczynski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was the one parcel, I think it was Brandywine
Yes.
Terrace.
Yeah,
In further discussion with our town planner, Mr. Weiss, it did appear that that property had some restrictions or issues with it. So we're gonna take a further look at that, but we felt that needed a further review. If we determine otherwise, it would wind up on a future, town meeting warrant. We thought there was enough other parcels to chew on, for the short term. But we're gonna take a further look at that parcel. So that truly was the only large parcel.
yeah,
I think all the other parcels here are under an acre.
except for Cedar Street. That's 1.3.
1.3.
Yeah,
But that was the reason that was removed.
thank you.
You may see it again in a future town meeting.
Mr. Kaczynski, through the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Trying to get him before you go.
Yeah, understood. That was the one step.
Just
so-
Sorry if I missed this, these will be sold via auction.
Most likely, they will be sold through a legal bidding method through the state. So we will consult with our town council as to the best method to get the widest, throw the widest net. And this is kind of a unique circumstance, having so many very small parcels. I think we're gonna need to find certain types of buyers in order to have interest in these. So we're definitely gonna look at different approaches and try to find the one that has the widest net on possible bidders, purchasers.
Don't look on eBay yet.
Thank you.
There's a lot of directions we can go on that. No further discussion. All those in favor of Article 15 as written, please say aye. Those opposed?
Aye, nay.
I abstain, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. 8, 1, and 1. I'm sorry, 7, 1, 1. Article 16, Jody.
Move that the finance committee recommend approval of Article 16 to amend the Millis zoning bylaws as written in the warrant. This is for the section 11 special flood hazard district.
Second.
They recommend seconded to approve Article 16 as written, and as we heard from Vice Chair Nicole Riley earlier, tidbits on this discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Article 17, Jody.
Move that the finance committee recommend approval of Article 17, which will amend the Millis zoning bylaws to replace the definition of accessory family unit with accessory dwelling unit as written in the warrant.
Second.
Thank you. Recommend seconded Article 17 as written. The language change regarding the accessory dwelling unit discussion. Jen?
I'm a no on this one for the main reason that it's overreach by the planning board. This would be allowed by state law. It does not need an additional layer of bylaw. I can hear the sewer part, but I think the short-term rental piece is just way too much. So I'm a no, and I will be requesting an amendment to this at the town meeting if that's what it comes to.
Okay, thank you. Go, Peter?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I am going to vote no on this just because we're waiting for some outstanding information from town council
Same here. Mr.
on this
Chair.
article that I think would be important to know before we vote on it.
Yeah.
This is something that we can vote right before town meeting. And I think it would be important to have that piece of information.
Yeah, I already know this, but I know we have to get the official thing. It was not required by the state law. I'm
Yeah.
a lawyer too, but I know I'm not the
Yeah,
town council, but yeah, I'm not the council.
Mr.
Go
Chair,
ahead, Jody.
yeah, I would, my recommendation would be to recommend at town meeting for this because we are waiting for some important information officially.
Could we vote on this though at our meeting prior to the town
Yes.
meeting?
Yes,
Would that would be an appropriate time?
yes.
Yes.
But the book will go out and say recommend, so we will recommend tonight that we recommend at town meeting.
Correct.
And so that's what finance committee report would say.
Correct.
Only thought, go ahead.
How you doing?
Yeah,
Ellen Rosenfeld, 12 Evergreen Terrace. I don't have anything to do with this article, but just common sense.
yeah,
The short-term rental, Airbnbs, they're destroying neighborhoods everywhere across the state, across the country. The intent of this was to allow more housing. That was number one. And then, of course, to allow people to gain some income on their property whatever. But to have a swinging door with a new person every week, I have it in my condominium association, right? Is gonna destroy it. I would not wanna be next to a house that's allowed to put up an ADU and have a new car in and out, kids this week, dogs next week, this revolving door thing. And I believe that was, I don't know, because I wasn't in on it, but it seems to me that that would be the intent, to not have that. You want to have housing, but to run a hotel is another thing, so that would be my.
All right, well, could
Go
you
ahead, Jen.
say not to be primarily used? Because my point would be in between tenants, you might want to short-term rental till you found a good tenant. I mean, this is somebody's house. This is somebody's
Well, if you
backyard.
sign a 1-year lease and they don't pay you, I'm not sure that would be, and they're out in 3 months, I'm not sure that would be considered a short-term rental.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
you've evicted people before. It's not a fun process to have somebody hate you in your house that you're trying to evict. This is an ugly situation.
No, I don't know, I don't know.
I guess I'm saying is I would be opposed. I would not personally build one of these as written, just because I would not want to be stuck with a tenant or have to be quickly finding a new tenant when my grandmother died or my mother died, or, you know, I might want
Yes.
to short-term rental it to a friend or
Yes.
Yeah.
somebody going to construction. So I hear you. You know, you don't want to have somebody running a hotel.
Did they
On the other
define-
hand,
That's what our question is.
Oh, it's not
We're
defined.
verifying.
It's not.
it's not defined.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Under
I
30
hear
days.
you.
Under 30
Under
days.
30 days.
Okay.
It's defined as under 30 days.
I mean, because I do short-term rentals at one site on my property and it's been a great experience. You know, we get people from all over, they stay for a few weeks, sometimes they
Right.
stay for a month, and, you know, it hasn't been a revolving door. And
Okay.
it sure beats, I'm holding on to that, hoping that maybe where I live when I retire, I don't want to have to evict a long-term tenant. That's why I wouldn't take one. You know,
Okay.
but I know we're not talking about banning it in Millis overall yet.
Right.
I'm worried that's going there,
I'm
but
just not.
yeah.
I know, I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're saying, Jen,
Yeah.
for everything you're saying, but to ban 1 month rental, I just don't think is such an exclusionary burden for that homeowner to have an ADU. But that's just my opinion.
Understood,
No.
understood. Go ahead, Mike.
I agree with Board Member Rosenfeld. The purpose of the state legislation was to build more permanent housing. It wasn't to establish grooming houses or boarding houses or Airbnbs. And if we are going to go by what the reason behind all of this legislation, so that people would have a place to live permanently, not share over the weekend, I think that it makes sense that it be limited. I understand your point, but it's certainly not going to affect your property because this only affects ADUs that come into play from this point forward. So I think that it makes sense. Nobody wants an Airbnb in their neighborhood these days, knowing what goes on. But more importantly, it's supposed to be for permanent housing.
That's right. That's all. Thanks.
And
Go ahead, Kathy.
in fairness, then why didn't the Commonwealth write that in the statute?
Good question.
Yeah,
Exactly.
fair point. So. Yeah, where we do it all right. All right, fair enough. So I'll lean on some experienced members here. Do I need to take a motion to table this?
Well, there's a motion on the floor
To vote.
to second it, to vote, to recommend approval, and it's been seconded. We
True.
have to defeat
Remove the
that
motion.
and then move to.
Yeah, you have to vote on
Or
that.
you can table it.
Or you can move to
The person who
amend.
made the motion.
Who made the
can
motion?
recommend
I move to amend my motion.
Okay,
Second.
it.
Second.
Second,
But
we have to be.
approved to, or no, excuse me, it's been requested to amend your motion and second. Go ahead, Jody.
So I would like to amend the motion to recommend at town meeting, once we have further information on, the statutory requirements of this, section.
I'll second it again, just in case we need to.
Thank you. I think we're all on the same page. All those in favor of recommending this at town meeting, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Staying? We will vote on that prior to town meeting. Thank you, everybody. Sarah, 18.
I move that the finance committee recommend that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $40,736.55 to the unemployment insurance fund.
Second.
It's been recommended second to move $40,736.55 to the unemployment insurance fund. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Same. Thank you. Sarah again.
Article 19, I recommend that the finance committee move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $300,000 to the MGL Chapter 41, Section 111F Injury Leave Indemnity Fund.
Second.
Recommend second to approve Article 19 as written to move $300,000. The MGL Chapter 41, Section 111F Injury Leave Indemnity Fund. Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Kathy.
not that I need the answer now, but just usually people at town meeting ask how many are receiving this. So
It's a good question. Do we know that number off the top of our heads? Mike?
even if we're allowed to ask that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Josie,
can't give you, I can probably help answer this question. We spend about $260,000 annually on this particular fund. So
Yeah.
we like to keep the funding level around $300,000.
But for how many
Not too much information asked for us, how many people?
are on workers' comp?
I don't have an exact number of individuals, but I can certainly follow back with that information. But we can't share names, of course, but
Of course.
Not names, didn't ask that.
yep,
Understood.
just the number. We
Right.
can get that for you.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Same. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Pete.
I move the committee vote to recommend transfer from free cash the sum of $50,000 to other post-employment benefits fund.
Second.
Recommend second to approve Article 20 as written, the sum of $50,000 to move from free cash to the other post-employment benefits fund. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, once again, someone will probably ask, is this amount at least what we owe for the year or for last year, or are we in arrears?
Not even close.
Okay.
Not even close.
Here comes Steph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Want me to answer that question?
Please.
All right. The short answer is, no, there is no set amount that we're required to give on an annual basis. Our liability is in the millions. Ultimately, most towns in our situation pay anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a year into this fund. Many communities have a long-term plan that once their pension obligations are fully funded, which will be sometime between 2032 and 2036, that the funds we're currently using for pension obligations will be shifted over to the OPEB. Right now, to be able to pay on a schedule, say that would pay it off in 20 years, we would cripple the town financially without a large override.
Yes.
Sure.
Go ahead, Mike.
Just so people understand, this is for retirement funds, health funds, healthcare funds for people who are retired primarily. This is not for their retirement themselves, but for healthcare funds that they're on once they're retired.
So we currently basically pay as you go for those costs. In addition to that, we're setting aside a certain amount of money so that at some point in the future, the town won't have to do pay as you go. It's the same thing with the pension system.
Yeah.
Theoretically, based on Norfolk County's current schedule, which is why we had 11% increase in that this year. They have a very aggressive schedule. They're seeking to fully fund the county's pension obligation by 2032. At that point, theoretically, we will get no more bills from Norfolk County. All funds going to Norfolk County for pension would be simply what's pulled out of the employees' paychecks. Usually somewhere between 9 to 11% gets pulled out of their paycheck to go towards the pension fund. And theoretically, if the markets recover by 2032, then we should, based on current schedules, be fully paid up by 2032.
Thank you for that. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, Jody, bring us home with Article 21.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move that the finance committee recommend approval of Article 21, which will move $100,000 from free cash to the stabilization fund.
Second.
It's been recommended and seconded to approve Article 21 as written to move $100,000 from free cash to the stabilization fund. Discussion.
So, tonight we received, the amount that's in stabilization, which is $2,857,151.40. So I do have calculations that I can plug that into, but, Jody, if you have the percentage that this would put us, that would be great to have, as well in our discussion notes.
Sure, I can provide that percentage, and do the calculation as well, but we estimate that we have about $400,000 more than we are, I don't want to say required, but suggested to have around a 5% reserve balance. So that still exceeds the amount that, the DOR recommends.
Thank you, Jody, for the why.
I have a whole chart with a graph and all of that, so it's useful to have the numbers.
Sure.
Okay. Further comments, Jody?
Glad someone has it.
No more further discussion. All those in favor of Article 21 as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you, everybody, for going through all those 21 articles. I greatly appreciate it. Go ahead.
Before you move off of the warrant.
Yes.
For Article 15, I recommend that we have a handout in the Finance Committee report or available at town meeting.
Agree, this one might be tough in black and, hang on, in black and, I saw that. Defeat.
No, that wasn't defeat.
Okay, it might be hard in black and white. Might be hard in black and white.
Something.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is Article 15?
The map. The different spots.
Oh, thank you.
I agree.
What about a large map on, display?
Or actually, maybe we should just have one large one at the,
Like,
at
with
the,
the-
No,
Show the
that's what
streets.
something. I don't think we need to figure it out now. I think you're in charge of that. and-
I can easily,
Sure, Rob.
Mike's got an idea.
I'd love to delegate that to somebody.
Mike's got an idea.
Mike, go ahead.
Chairman, I
Yes.
think it was just said, but we do plan on having a large map of all the commercials right outside the town meeting venue. In addition, we'll have a color map on the town's website that can be blown up and people can look at in the comfort of their own homes.
Can we just make sure
Does,
that?
hang on, does that satisfy what you're looking to do?
I'm satisfied with
Satisfy
anything,
him?
anything you want, sir.
I think that works well.
This
Go
is
ahead.
getting very
I know.
Could the lot lines be delineated in yellow? So that it just doesn't look like one big piece that you would see that this and this and this.
How about provide what you can?
We will do our best.
Yeah.
Um,
The idea is to simplify it, not make it more complicated.
Well, you just
cartography is
take
not my
a-
specialty, but I
Take a
Yeah.
crayon and color
How
it.
about links to the GIS block for each lot,
All right, let's keep moving.
I will talk to people.
I was gonna say, if I may.
Jody wants to weigh in. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just wanna, make a quick mention, one of the things that Mike, Bob and I were working on as well is being able to provide a quick how-to, for residents to be able to log, the parcels that are available with the GIS map. And really basically a training tutorial to say, if you're looking at this parcel, here's how you can find it on the map. It is limiting as far as, like, the town administrator explained, to provide this giant document and be really inclusive of all the parcels on that kind of paper. So we're encouraging folks to leverage that tutorial and be able to look at parcels of interest that they may be inquiring about.
And this
So
might be a
that should
start,
be
if we can have
available
a,
as well
yeah.
on the website.
yep, and if maybe Bob or a representative can be next to the map to help out residents
Mr.
to
Chair,
decipher. Go ahead, Mike Brown.
I just want to say thank you to Mike and Jody, to all of the board members who have supplied us with a tremendous amount of information. They've been here with us through most of these meetings, and they've enabled us to make the recommendations that we're making tonight. So thank you to you, to the school boards, to all the boards, the department heads, the police, fire, DPW. Thank you very much for all the hard work you've done.
Thank you very much.
Nice
Thank the
comments.
committee for your volunteer work on behalf of the citizens of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Moving on to a couple of remaining items. Jody, thank you. Bill payable. This is advertised pre-town meeting. I have it here in front of me for $120.96.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I move that we approve this bill payable for $120.96 to Gannett Media
Second.
It's been, there's been a motion and second to approve the, pre-town meeting advertisement, as written on the bills payable. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 9-0. Any board or committee liaison updates or old business, new business?
As a senior, just to let folks know, and some of you have heard last evening when the select chair of the select board mentioned that Bill Brown, a longtime resident and member of the Council on Aging Board, has passed away. And, unfortunately, the fact that he has that passed away, his term now is, his seat is open. And I hate asking since he's just passed, but if anybody is interested in being on the board, we do have a seat open.
Great, thank you, Joyce. Just a few friendly reminders to get your warrant article summaries to Deirdre by Friday, if not before. I know Mike Crone is on top of that. And I will be working on the Ellis Finance Committee report to send over to Deirdre by Friday as well. Any other final thoughts before we?
Yeah, you received an email today, from the, school building committee, with a lot of information that's gonna be put out for the open house that's coming up. So if you have an opportunity to take a look at it, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Take a motion?
Second.
Motion second to
That half made the
adjourn.
motion and that half seconded.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
That's
That's Joey.
Should have done it in a British accent.
I know.
Oh, now?
Mr. Chair, just confirming our next meeting's pre-town meeting on the 30th?
Yes, and Vice Chair Mike will be running that meeting as I will be out of state on work. I know.
I just, I actually have a question.
That I just pay.
Yes, go ahead, Deirdre.
Is
Hang on,
that
guys.
okay? So I think I got all the votes except for, Article 12.
Article 12.
So I have
Is
five.
a 4 to 5. 4 yes, 5 no, 0 abstain.
Oh, okay, so that,
And we're
okay, I had
working
it
on a
other ways.
minority report.
4
for that.
yes, 5 no.
Correct.
Deirdre, thank you for all of your help
Yes.
as well, please. Thank you very much. You put all of this together every week. It really means a lot to all of us.
Maybe next budget, Deirdre, they'll get it to you on time so you can get it to us on time. Why
You're
do we have
very
a
welcome.
policy?
Okay,
Why
5
are we here?
Then that isn't a recommendation.
Everybody sign the bills payable? Everybody sign it? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Right there.
Why are you here? What are you here for?